Welcome to What the Biz, where we talk about building successful businesses, balancing life, and all the WTB in between. With your hosts, me, Richard Pyatt.
I'm Bridget Vector.
And I'm Dan Prochko.
Welcome back. Thank you for pushing the play button on the WTB podcast. What the Biz? Richard here with Dan and Bridget. And yes, we are back. Now, to you, this might not seem like an awful long time since the last time you heard from us, but we kind of have a funny thing to tell you after we get settled in here. It's actually been a while since we've been together, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a little while. But welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, hi.
Well, nobody looks any older. So we're sitting here looking at each other, just as young and youthful as the last time.
Do we all feel that way, though?
Oh man, dude, so much has happened. I feel 10 years older, and it's not, but yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you don't look 10 years older. That's the good news.
Thank you so much. No, I've cut my hair, I've cut my beard shorter. I look more youthful. I'm tricking myself, but my beard's got so much more white in it. Nobody can see it. I'm talking about things nobody can see. Whatever.
But now they can envision it. You're giving the full description, and they can envision what you may look like.
And you can come to the What the Biz website and just check Dan's headshot. Get a baseline.
There is that.
Although they'll be like, "There's not that much white. What's he talking about?"
I know. That was taken a while ago. It's so much whiter, and just like that was what, 4 months ago, maybe
probably
3 months ago. There's so much more white right now. It's crazy.
It was winter,
it's okay.
I think it was longer. Yeah. So we intend today to talk a little bit about what's gone on in the time that we've not been recording. So for those of you listening, and we appreciate that so much, the last episode was recorded a year ago. And now we're picking up.
Crazy.
Yeah. And now we're picking up where we've left off. And we thought we might share with you today just some insights we've had about the journey we've been on since that last episode was recorded, which has been some time. And when we were getting ready, preparing for this episode, Dan started writing all of the things that he notes as having been different or changed or progressed since that time. And I think he got writer's cramp or something.
No, the list is long. It's crazy. Just thinking about where we're at now and where we were then. I'm going to tease around it just a little bit more. There have been massive changes. It's amazing how much happens in a year and we forget. We tell ourselves these stories throughout the year of like, I'm not making progress. I'm not getting to where I want to go, or maybe hearing from our clients like, hey, something isn't happening, etc. But if you just go back through the notes of like how much happened, it's like, oh, we forget just as humans. We're not good at keeping it there all the time. And, back to, telling the story, Richard, which I know you help a lot of, you help your clients do. It's like, it's what's amazing about something like this podcast, or when companies are doing podcasting content, emailing, etc., constantly telling their story. They have things to go back on to see, here's what happened throughout time, and we can remind ourselves of all these milestones and these amazing projects that have been completed, or growth, etc., learnings. And it's amazing. It feels good. I'll tell you, it feels really good. It feels really good. Do you two kind of feel that happen from time to time where it's like, oh, I'm so bummed, but then you actually go back, it's like, holy cow, a lot actually happened.
Well, I feel like you get so bogged down in the day-to-day that it's hard to remember where you've come from or what you've accomplished. I've actually sat in this amazing CEO group for the past 6 months. And one of the things that they have you do, each year how some people will make their vision board and cut out all their little magazine things and put it on there. This is actually done throughout the year. So when you hit a milestone, it gets documented, and you can actually go look at that when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Where are we actually getting? And you can see a list of everything or big accomplishment or whatever you've done throughout the year. And I have loved that idea.
That's amazing. We do something similar. Our project board, as a team, we meet every week. And in our project board, we have a place for highlights, team highlights, where we recognize individuals or the organization as a whole for milestones that happen every month, and we just add them to the list. And basically, at the end of the year, you just get this huge thing of like, oh my God, a lot happened that month. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I like
a really
it.
cool thing.
I haven't
Guess I
thought about
should
using the
start doing
project
that.
board for that. Yeah.
I guess.
Well, there you go. Well, now your team, because you, I guess you should start doing that.
I admit I am in the zone. Well, in the zone. I try to be in the zone all the time, but I mean, I'm in the work zone that I don't do that. I haven't stopped and said, look at everything that's happened, although I see it. But right. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, unless you do it, nobody's going to do it for you, you know. And
Right.
unless you do it, we lose it. We forget where we're at. I remember where I worked somewhere in the past, and it was a larger team. I hadn't taken the leap yet, and I remember everybody being like, "Man, everything's going so slowly. We're not hitting our goals." Those types of conversations, and then the CEO every week would come to the all team meeting, and he would do this every week, come to the all team meeting with those numbers, with those accomplishments. Yet we would all still complain that we're not getting there. Like, this is how bad humans are. Like in general, how we are. We don't, for whatever reason, we don't just keep it because of that day to day. So yeah, no, that's a great idea, Bridget. Like, as it happens, throwing it up. Yeah, we do the same thing. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it is awesome. It's really cool to look back. So I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm going to jump in here. Things have changed a lot. Okay. I just went back and was taking a look. So, like Richard said, the last time we recorded was August of 2022. Okay. It's been a while. Okay. And so it's been a year. Here we are recording at the end Q3 of 2023, almost Q4. Back then, we had one employee. So we were a team of 3. We're now a team of 6. Well, about to be 6. We literally have just contacted our 6th. I mean, in 1 year, that's a doubling of our employees, of our team size in just 1 year. Our revenue has followed suit. We doubled as well.
That's amazing.
Which feels awesome. But it's so cool to now have this team of people and all that creativity, all of those other ideas, all that motivation, excitement, where it's not all on your own shoulders anymore. When you're, and Richard, I'm sure you're feeling this all the time. When you're one person,
I'm nodding.
It's a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's stressful. Yeah, if you don't see, you can't see him. Richard's like, yep, totally. Yep. So, and it's posed other problems because they're all remote. We don't have an office, and actually, they're not all here where I'm located in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. Actually, where the 3 of us are in that area, they're not here. We've got one on the East Coast in Boston. Our 6th is in, I believe it's Texas, down in Dallas, Texas. And so we've got these disparate people in different locations that we have to find a way to bring them together. And so it's led us to add a lot of new stuff of like, we're now having team lunches, monthly, where everybody's on calls together. We're now having these team chat threads where we're talking about what's going on over the weekend, new music or videos. Now, this sounds like it would be organic. It's not. Like, we have to actively make this stuff happen. The team doesn't just do this. And that's a symptom of that we're not together. So we have to force a culture to come out of this somehow and create itself, all while these things do add to the culture, obviously, but you have to force some things. I didn't think that was going to be necessary. So that kind of takes some of my attention away from doing the work or growing the company, thinking in places where I find more excitement. But this is super valuable and rewarding. So that was, I think that's been the biggest thing culturally that's happened, was through this hiring, we have all these people and we're trying to figure out how they come together. So that's kind of the biggest thing of where we are now.
It's always amazing when you go from a smaller team to a bigger team and the excitement, but then the additional headaches you get. Like, there's days where It's kind of like, should we go back to the simpler times of life?
I know, right?
Don't
Like,
have
could
to
I
do all this.
I'm thinking, like, could I go back? No, right. Sometimes could I go back and just have those 10 clients, like the 10 clients, and that's it? And it's just two people again, and that's it. Could I do that? And I think the answer is no now that I know what this all actually is.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I could. But
no, I agree. I wouldn't
time to
I
time.
wouldn't trade that because I don't know. I think you get the different vision as an owner then of how much more impact you can have or how many more people you can, help in their businesses or whatever that is. But there are days that added complexity is like, oh boy.
Yeah. The other biggest change is, as a marketing agency, if this is the first episode you're jumping into, My Pocket Marketing's our agency, and we used to focus on all industries. Okay. And while we still have a lot of clients in many industries, we're now actually being much more selective and not hyper focusing, but just focusing in certain areas. We've grown a pretty good competency in residential cleaning that we feel translates to home services. So, gutter maintenance, roofing, lawn care, car detailing. I know a lot of people are like, how does that relate? Trust me, moms with SUVs and kids love car detailing. It's a thing. So we are now focusing in those areas rather than anything and everything. It's, I mean, we've doubled in revenue. So I'm just going to say it's successful. We've niched, and it works. We've also made a ton of software changes. With 6 employees, doing all that payroll by hand or getting, because of this growth, there's these contracts to wrangle, et cetera. We've gone from manual processes to digital automation processes. We've gone from doing a lot of manual ideation, which is what I'll call it, to actually utilizing AI to help with a lot of stuff, which has been huge. And maybe we'll have a whole episode about AI and marketing or AI and other topics. We've changed platforms. We used to be like in MailChimp. We're now over in Keep. We used to be in Wave Apps for accounting. We're over in QuickBooks. We used to, so a lot of that stuff has changed over the last year, and it's really impacted our ability to do more, which is great.
You made all those changes as a result of growth. What you were using just didn't work as well as so.
Correct.
Necessitated changes. Yeah.
No, it totally did. I mean, on a bookkeeping side, because Bridget's our bookkeeper, so she knows these stories more. Like, we had needs of like, we have clients that prepay certain stuff. We have clients that are on types of subscriptions, et cetera, that the bookkeeping of Wave Apps just didn't allow us to do what we needed to do. Mm-hmm. On top of it, with the payroll increase in different locations, yes, Wave Apps had it, but there were some drawbacks that we needed something bigger and different, something a bit more robust. So we had to change so that we were able to do things more effectively. The other piece was around processing. And I think we even talked about this in maybe one of the previous episodes. One of the reasons we also changed was payment processing fees. It had just gone up, and with our increased revenue is just a huge chunk of actual revenue that we could be using to find better employees. We could be using to find more customers, or we could be using for internal cultural elements, whether it be bonuses or doing like those team lunches, et cetera, that we're just going to the processing, so there's all those things that we were keeping in mind. And because of the growth, actually shine a spotlight in these areas and forced us to change. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someday,
that's where we're at. That's it, and it's amazing. Yeah, and it's been fun. It's been so much fun. Oh my god.
Someday I'm going to ask you about that whole team culture thing and being in person versus being remote, and it'd be interesting to see how you deal with that. I came from a working environment where we were very much an in-office culture. Pandemic came, we were remote, and the bosses were very concerned about losing the culture and went back to the office as soon as they could. So I'll be curious about that.
No, that's a really great thing for us to explore. I think we should do it in another episode. but it takes effort. It takes effort. I think maybe more effort when people are remote, but there are trade-offs. I mean, there are other things that take a little less effort. I think like people who like to work remote, this might be my generalization. It may not be true. So if you're listening and I've offended you, let me know, because I need to correct my perspective on things. But something about people that are remote potentially might be more self-starters, or be able to prioritize their own work maybe a little bit better. That could be totally wrong, by the way. And these may not be the right terms either, but there's something about them where they are able to just self-manage on time and do things. Whereas if, not that people in an office can't either, it's just different the way that I think they approach it. So it's easier for task assignment or project management a little bit, rather than those people that you get people that need less high touch, I guess, maybe really what I'm saying.
No, I think you're completely accurate in that, because I mean, you hear from people all the time that are like, we've tried remote. We can't do remote. We don't like it. We thrive in an environment where we are around people and with our coworkers. And I mean, there are a lot of individuals out there that don't love the remote working environment, and probably because not being more of a self-starter. Like I think you have definite. I think there's statistics out there to support what you're saying.
Cool.
It's not for everyone.
I hope so. And if somebody has something that contradicts, let me know, because I don't want to keep this mindset for no reason. But yeah, it's different. It is different. Yeah. I say I miss an office too. I miss people around. I'm an extrovert, but it's been really cool putting these new things in place that bring us to that water cooler per se, and we'll talk about that another time. What I want to hear is from both of you, how things have changed. I mean, I've kind of monopolized the time so far. I don't want to do that. I'm going to shut up for a while.
Bridget, you can be next.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as Dan. Like, so much has changed in the last year, especially in the company and where we want to go, more based on client feedback and how we can better, serve the clients that we have, or the clients that we're looking to have. Huge growth on like consulting, coaching side. I'm naturally any test or personality thing or whatnot, I am naturally a visionary. Like which is very unique for somebody with an accounting mind, I have learned. Often accountants are not visionary. No offense to all the accountants out there, but we live in number world, right? Black and white. And I very much do not. So I have really honed in on the pieces where we can serve our clients, taking their numbers and then helping those numbers grow their business. And we've gotten a ton of feedback and pushback of, well, okay, how do I develop KPIs for my employees? How do I develop a strategic plan? How do I do a SWOT analysis? Who should I hire? Can I afford to hire? I mean, it's business operations all the way through that we are really leaning into now. So we are servicing our clients, both bookkeeping, but also with mountains of templates and just help on running a well-run business, I guess. And so our Q1 2024 goal is that we have a full coaching program available that people can opt into. So that is going to be huge. Yeah.
So that is huge, because that's completely branching out of what you'd identified as your core business, isn't it?
Yeah, it is taking our core business of bookkeeping, and I call it turning the accounting world on its head. Like, this is very unusual and unique. You can get CPAs. There are good CPAs out there that will dive into some of the business forecasting, or pieces of it. But finding somewhere to give you that full service model where not only can we provide you with amazing accounting and bookkeeping services, but we're tying that into business growth, what it means for your taxes. How can we tax plan and reduce? Like, even though we don't file taxes, we are well versed in it. So it's been a unique growth over the past year, and lots of investment into, CEO masterminds, and really learning a lot more. But I don't know, it comes natural. Like I said, sitting in that visionary, I almost get exhausted in the day-to-day bookkeeping. That's why I have really great team members where I'm more like, yes, let me help you strategic plan. And how are we going to get your business to that goal? Like just being that partner is a lot more fun for me. So
I can second that feeling of like going from it's two different mindsets, that I'm strategy thinking, ideating, creative, etc., to the bookkeeping that's this process. I don't want to say tedious because it is actually really interesting and cool the way that things work, but like it is just like that process of just categorizing numbers and making sure that they're where it's supposed to go. Such different mindsets, and switching I find is exhausting for me nowadays. It takes time to make that an effort to make that transition.
Yeah.
So
and even like the outside perspective, like clients will come to us and they have an issue with I don't know, almost like employees doing something in their day-to-day job, and they may be a business that is not even remotely related to accounting. And we're able to kind of see it and be like, well, have you tried this? Or what about putting this system into place? And, what about implementing this, communication channel or whatever it is? And it's been really fun. Like our clients have gotten some great like pieces for their own businesses for their growth. And we're getting a lot of really good feedback. So I'm excited to continue to grow that. Let's see, we are up to a team of 6 of us, but we're also honing in more on adding a couple of consultants for, some of the additional coaching pieces. So that's been fun.
Well, you really knocked me out with that because I had no idea you were headed in that direction. Did that knock you out? Was that by accident, or had you planned that was a possibility?
I think deep down I knew it was a possibility just because of the way that I look at businesses, because I can look at those numbers and evaluate them in a way where I go, I wonder if they're having issues with their marketing, or I wonder if they're having issues with their systems and processes, or I wonder if they actually have a vision in their company. Like, do they even know where they're going? Or I wonder if they need an executive assistant to help them with all of those pieces. So I can almost study the numbers just from reports, ask a couple questions, and we can be on to gold with where their problems are sitting in their business. So yeah,
well,
I don't know.
I've
discovered that I have a fun, unique piece to my brain, and I am going to lean into it heavily because I get so much fuel and passion out of that side that I could coach and help all day long. And I learn, honestly, in those exchanges, I learn things myself, and it's great. Yeah.
Well, I'm just sitting here soaking that in for a second.
No, I love the direction you're going. We have, when Richard's done, I want to hear from all of you, like what's next, what's coming up. I've got some stuff to share down that route, but your whole coaching plan and the way you're going, it's really awesome. I love seeing the way you've been growing and everything happening. So it's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, it's been interesting over the year because I feel like most business owners are so hyper focused on their goals or their growth, or we're not going to hit those numbers or whatever. We've kind of put a pause button on, to be honest. We took the last, I would say at least solid 6 months. And while we're still getting, new clients or people coming in, we have a wait list. We aren't accepting people because I've really wanted to focus on this extra value that we can bring. It's been a struggle though, because I think you guys can relate as business owners. We're like, no, we want to see growth. We want to go, right? See?
Right. No, totally more. Like I want more.
Yeah.
Not for greed, and it's not greed. It's just this it's like this excitement over being able to impact so much more, or being able to get that 1 or 2 more employees that just makes things better. It's like I want more. Oh my God, I want that excitement, that feeling, the rush.
Yes. And it's totally not for greed, or like you said, it is like, well, if we aren't growing, we aren't impacting. We aren't making the impact. Where I kind of took a different view and I said, no, we'll impact more if we pause,
right,
develop this other piece, and then we just lean in and hit the ground running with that. So yeah, it's been fun. Yeah.
Real cool. So Richard, where have you been? What's going on?
Well, I don't have as dynamic a story as either of you, but I'm also not at the same point. So to remind folks, by the time we're recording this, I'm in year 2, and so I would say I have seen steady growth over the course of that time. I would also say it's not been fast enough, but it's been steady growth. So I think Dan said something about, remembering everything we've done. And Bridget just said something about the numbers, the growth. Did you get your goals? So we do spend a lot of time in both of those places, forgetting about where we've been and all of that. So I probably need to start, as I said earlier, that system of putting something on the wall here that talks about everything we've done. But to some extent, I have some of that, but it is the goal thing that's all on the walls here. So it surrounds me. But we have grown. In our first year, I set a pretty conservative goal, and we doubled it. But it was pretty conservative.
Holy cow, yeah.
So for the second year, I got cocky and said, well, we're going to triple it now. So that's where we are, and still trying to triple it, but we're on the way. Could happen before the year is over. But when you're not in the diamond lane to the bank, you don't necessarily feel that, but there has been growth. So that's great. And I also think that there has been more credibility given to the business model, which if you haven't heard our previous episodes, my business is helping folks, I'll just use that in quotes, folks, develop purposeful podcast discussions. So when I say folks, I mean like businesses in business. And this is not typically something that has been widely recognized among, shall we say, average businesses, that it can be done. And you can hire a media interviewer to do it, which is part of what makes me different. So we have grown because of that. And nobody in 2 years, nobody has looked at me and said, well, that's a bad idea. I couldn't use that. Nobody's ever said that. So it's really interesting. So there has been growth in that way. Dan, you mentioned a while ago getting from the creative space to the workspace and going back and forth, and how that can be difficult. I would say that's true. So I am still, for the most part, a one-man show. So I'm juggling all of that. And sometimes I say, oh boy, I have episodes I have to edit. I got to go get in that zone of doing that, which at times cannot be as exciting as being in the creative zone. So I have an editor now who helps with some things, but on a very measured basis. So there has been some growth there.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, congrats.
Right.
That's great.
And my vision is somebody else will do all of that at some point.
Especially when you get the little taste of it at first, and you're like, oh yeah, I could live without doing that again.
Oh, that's true. And when you find someone who does it well, so this person,
hold on to them.
Yes, this person I found totally by accident, and doing this on a very sparing kind of basis is entirely fine for her, and it's worked out quite well, and she does it as well or better than I would. So that makes a person feel good about that. Some of the other things that have happened, I would say, over the last couple of years in terms of growth have been recognizing sweet spots and the clients that are working well, and the sectors that are working well. So, much of what we've done has been working with a person to create podcast discussion content that they can use as engagement tools. And those folks are in every episode, right? And they're talking about the things they do and the problems they solve and so on. Another category of work that we've done has been locally focused content. Now, those
that's
of
real
us,
cool.
So Dan and I will resonate with that, having been in at one time in locally focused broadcasting, which, don't mind telling you folks, is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. So that leaves some communities with very little sources of local information. So that's been a sweet spot, and I can see some real growth going on in that category as well. And then a third category that is just starting to get some momentum, which is kind of funny because some would call this the more typical podcast route, is a subject-driven podcast. So like we're doing here, this is a subject-driven podcast. Live Mike has not produced a lot of those. We've been really focused helping people in their niches and helping with local information. We haven't done that, but we're starting to do that. So that's really a lot of the growth that I can recognize. We haven't really rocketed like a rocket in the growth department in terms of clients, but it's just been very steadily growing, not exploding. I think we will at some point, and I see some potential out there, even in the distance that I can see, where that's possible. So just keep pushing. But yeah, it has. I'm not to where you are yet because you've been at it longer than me, and you're ahead of me on this path. You're recognizing some of those things that are helping you grow. And I think that Bridget's example is really great. The idea that she's recognized how she can adjust her business model to welcome a new kind of growth, which is really interesting. So hats off to both of you, really, for all that you've been up to.
Well, thank you, Andy. I really like what's cool to hear is because we're at the different years of where we're at and the different experiences, which I hope might flip. Like I see for you too, Richard, like that explosive growth potential, where it's going to be. It'd be really awesome to see you one day, surpass just because of that potential and what's going on. But it's really cool to hear things that me and Bridget talk about resonate and are actually happening. It's like these are the growing pains of getting to where we're going, and it's really cool that what we talk about could help others. And yeah, so that's neat. Congrats on having somebody else on your team. Giving you some more time to do something else. That's awesome. Yeah.
It really is nice
that,
to hand off.
With that, can I ask, where's everybody going next? What's next? What's coming up in the next 12 months?
Bridget?
Oh boy. That's such a loaded question.
Like, what do we think is coming up next in the next 12 months?
I always joke that I have a mission for world domination, and I don't mean that in like a
of course you do.
No, I'm kidding. Like world domination standpoint, but I just look at it as biggest impact that we can make. Our main mission has never changed. I started Vector Bookkeeping and Financial Solutions, with the purpose of knowing that there was this gap in the financial world for small business owners, and that isn't going to go away. We've just expanded to the point that we've recognized that gap also has another gap that we can help to fill as well. So I would say over the next 12 months, I see us adding quite a few more team members to be able to handle the growth that I'm expecting. That's going to be a fun management experience. I will joke tangent here for a minute. I feel like those of us that sit in visionary like roles or have that mindset, it is really hard to sit in a management role and be a visionary. Like it is a tough struggle. And it isn't because you don't want to manage well. It is just so far out of that creative zone.
Ask my team how good of a project manager I am. Not is the answer. And I have to, it is difficult. Yeah, it's difficult.
That's why we got to find the really good ones to do that. So we just talk our visions and they help us implement. But yeah, I definitely see growth in adding employees so that we can, maintain what we're going to develop with this coaching program. And first quarter 2024 ought to be really fun. I'm excited
That's
for
awesome.
it. Like
I'm looking
I'm
forward.
really excited. Yeah.
That's cool.
And to couple with that, a lot of us as business owners, business is not our whole life. And finding that balance between the two, while we've been on our little hiatus, and I don't even want to call it that because we've still seen each other, we've still talked, we've still worked together, we just haven't been recording. Personally, we have moved our 3 kids to homeschool. So not only are we growing a business, because my husband does work with me as well, we made a huge family shift too. So it has opened my eyes to additional struggles that business owners may have, because business can't be our whole life and it shouldn't be our whole life. And so, just being able to assist more on that coaching side to help people get out of, working 80+ hour weeks as business owners is definitely where we want to go. So I'm excited for the next 12 months. We're in the juggling act, and I am really excited.
Wow.
Richard, how
so
about you?
Homeschooling, that means in the middle of, I'm making this up, but in the middle of recording a podcast, somebody comes to you and says, Mom, I'm having a problem with this.
No, actually, there's a sign on my office door. You can't see it, but there is one that says, unless you're bleeding, please just don't come this way. But I can look out my office window right now, and apparently it's gym time because they're outside playing volleyball. Not that we actually have gym time, but yes, they're out playing volleyball, like right outside the window.
Okay. So you're managing their curriculum. I'm sure there's help that you can get with that, but you're overseeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just add that to your plate.
That is a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
I see continued growth as well. There are things on the horizon that really have been derived out of the fact that I was a locally focused broadcaster for so long, and now there's such a lack of that this has developed into, in some ways, a local content kind of model, which I talked about before. I see some real growth coming. In fact, I have that intention to grow that area of it, but also still growing the other 2 categories I talked about, and I see potential in all of that. And I also am finding that I'm talking to, I was going to say bigger clients. I was trying to think of a better way to say that, but really entities that operate in a different space than some folks that I've talked to before, which means the value of this is starting to be recognized more broadly. So I see that growth potential because of that as well.
Nice.
Do you have one of those 3 areas? You mentioned your 3 buckets that it's kind of falling into. Do you have one of those that really fuels, like, that you are excited when you know you're going to be working with one of them? Or are they all kind of equal because you like it all together?
I like it all together, but I'm really, I spent so much time in local news and information that to see this medium have an impact in that area is interesting to me. And I feel like there's an opportunity to define what that really is. So for example, you recall, if you've ever listened to local news, let's say on radio, that's 24-hour cycle, and it's constantly demanding. I think the online version of that doesn't have to be as demanding, which is kind of interesting to me. So all of that is just rattling around in my head, but that's on my mind right now. I also think there's an opportunity for community involvement in that, which is a little different than we've seen in the past. So anyway, all of that has me a little revved up right now.
So that's pretty cool that you are seeing this like almost like merriment of your like previous role and kind of where you were previously at, and it's kind of bleeding. I don't know, Dan. I feel like he's on the verge of some like very unique niche here. I can see your gears turning. Richard,
no, my gears are totally turning. I want to go like crazy, but I know where we're at on time already. So it's like I want to go deeper. Like I see it too. I totally see it. My brain does that.
Yeah.
But that's so exciting. That's exciting. Next 12 months, we are obviously growth. I want to double again, but it's going to happen differently, especially because of the niching that happened over the last year. We're working on a platform that we've been working in a high touch model recently, where our team has to spend time with every client, etc. We've actually developed out we've taken all of our resources, learnings, etc., and turned it into a DIY platform, and allowing organizations to subscribe to get access to, all the assets, the strategy, the instructions on how to implement, so that they can do what our team does for themselves. And something like that means our team doesn't have to do the work. We're more in a customer service capacity. We'll have to hire for that. That's what we are working on launching. And we think we actually may have found a way to shortcut this a little bit, which feels great. It's like a midway point. We have all these automations already built, but to create the full DIY program, there's all these assets around it that have to get built. But we could launch with just these automation pieces because there's other companies that have done this. So it already exists and is proven. And then as we grow and add the other things, we'll just tack them in, et cetera. So we think we may have short-circuited this a little bit so we could get something out faster and scale a little bit faster. So we're excited to explore that piece. So that's what I think in the business, what we're going to see in the next 12 months from us is that we're going to launch these other packages that are more DIY or more scalable, where we don't have to do a lot of the work. Hoping to get deeper into this niche, into the industry. I've been exploring what it might be to buy a business in these industries that we work in. So right now that's just exploration. It's just talk, but just looking at that and understanding, what they're worth, why they're worth, how much work is it to turn them around. And then also maybe ingrain ourselves deeper within these industries, within the coaching programs, with the vendors of other software, so that we become a preferred provider in that way, doing that kind of a strategy as well. So those are all the things that are going to be up in the air over the next 12 months. We'll see what happens. You'll hear updates over the next episodes. Otherwise, I got to finish my deck project. I have been paint stripping, sanding my deck. It's not done. My fingers are numb from sanding every day with the orbital, and it's gonna get done. It's got to get done.
Can you come over here and do mine when you're done?
There you go, Dan. New business. Deck.
Yeah.
Hey. You can pay me in pizza and beer, and if you're out there with me, we can do it anytime you want.
Oh, the joys of ownership.
Yes,
the gift that keeps giving.
That's right. It sure does. Or taking. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. So a check-in, you might say, a status report from all of us here on What the Biz. What have you seen happening? What kinds of ideas have you implemented? Maybe you, like Bridget, had all of a sudden an epiphany that there was an aspect of your business that you could add, and it has been successful. Click through, look at the show notes, get in touch, tell us about that. We want to share your story as well. Until next time, thanks for being with us on What the Biz.